Hey everyone, Chaosville here, and as you can see in the background, we finally figured out exactly how far we had to make the hopper minecart system go to capture all the crops, because let's just face it, there's over 5,880 crops coming through the system when you harvest back there, and so it's just way too many for the first three sections. So it was just making it to that last section there and just sitting there. So that section, the third section right there, was sitting there. So I had to add another section, and now it doesn't make it past the first three hopper mine cars. So I think we finally got it to where we wanted. Right now, that was just for the carrots. I was testing the carrots, but the carrots I think will drop the most compared to wheat, just because wheat is pretty much guaranteed to drop the wheat itself and then 2 seeds, which is still going to be the same amount of stuff coming through the system. It's just we're going to have 2 different items. So it should still work, but we'll find that out eventually in the future. But before we get too far into the episode, let's go ahead and explain what's going on here. So I was going to plan on building the storage shed, or at least the storage warehouse, I should say, for the crops, extra crops that will be needed for growing up here, or maybe for future selling, but I don't really need to sell them. I'll put that back there in that little area that I've already dug out. I was going to do that as a time lapse, but I'm not going to do that for a time lapse because there's really no point. Because I've already showed you guys basically the design that it's going to follow. It's just not going to be that design. I might still do a video on it. I'm not sure. If you guys really want me to, I will do a time lapse on it, but you'll have to let me know down in the comments below. Other than that, I want to work on the next farm, which is going to be underneath this one. It's just going to be nothing but soul sand, so we can grow some more nether warts. Before we move on here, let me go ahead and sleep. So I want to get a bunch more soul sand, which means I'm going to have to go to the nether, because I've only got a stack of like 32 soul sand left, which is probably enough to do water elevators and stuff, which I do a lot of. The next thing on the project list is getting rid of all this field up top here, the glass and everything up here, to make this building higher. So the next floor, we're going to have 4 floors on this. The third floor is going to be nothing but farmers. Then there's going to be a 4th floor with nothing but clerics. And while that's going on, while I'm taking that down off camera, or off video if you will, this silo is coming down as well. And I just completely fell off the wall. So all the carrots will probably get sold that are in this silo, and there's a lot in there. All but the top chest are full. So yeah, it's a lot of carrots. And then the factory is going to get moved. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep the warehouse here for the dyes and stuff. I might actually move it too, so I can put the food storage warehouse in here, which I'm thinking that's what I want to do. I don't think I want the food storage warehouse out there. So that's a question for you guys to answer. Do you think I should put the food warehouse storage inside of my wall, or should I put it out there? Because it would be closer to this storage section here, but I'm going to have to go through and gather up all the items anyway. It makes sense, though, to have it in here, because I'm going to have to go out there, get all this stuff, then just bring it in here. And I might have to fence this area in a little bit, too. I don't know, do something to make this look a little bit nicer. I just hate having torches everywhere. I know I planned on putting a floor underneath that, but I want to wait till after we get the soul sand and all that. But really, today's episode is just going to be kind of like a tips type of guide, if you will, for the nether. Well, nether fortresses, if you will, because the rest of the nether is going to be changing here very shortly. And so basically, what you need to do for the nether is make sure to remember, don't sleep in the nether. That's bad, obviously. And number 2, you definitely want to have some decent armor. And if you're gonna harvest like magma blocks, the best thing to do is to get Frostwalker on your boots, because it will prevent you from taking any damage on magma blocks. So if you're having to walk on magma blocks to farm magma blocks, that is something that you definitely want to look into. I know that might be hard at the beginning of the game, but towards your end game, when you're just wanting to go there to farm stuff for projects, that's one of the ways to do it, is to have the Frostwalker perk on your boots, so that way you don't have to worry about taking that fire damage over time. One of the important things I like to do is I like to harvest some blaze rods and some either magma creams, or just get some slime balls and use the blaze rods you get from the blazes. to form blaze powder, so you can form these fire resistance potions. So you can use the slime ball and the blaze powder to form a magma cream, and then you put it in to make the potion into a fire resistance potion. Then you put a redstone in there to make these, which are just lengthier fire resistance potions. And what these are going to do is they're going to prevent me from taking any fire damage while I'm in the Nether. So this is one of the most important things to me, beginning and end game, pretty much. So I know when you first go to the Nether, it's really hard because you probably don't really have decent armor, decent weapon. You'll try your best, but most likely you have iron. And let's just face it, iron is not as good as diamond. So I will come back when I meet you guys in the Nether, and we'll go over some other things. Alright, so here we are in the Nether. My first real big tip is if you're here in in-game, make sure that you bring some cobblestone or some sort of block that cannot be destroyed by gas or caught on fire by gas, like this netherrack. Obviously netherrack kind of sucks at that point, but at the same time it's understandable why it has to be done that way, because it's just something that needs to be done to make the game more challenging. Also, the brick netherrack is important, because once you find it here, that means you're probably near a nether fortress. Now nether fortresses are where we can find our nether warts, so the nether wart farms. We can also find our skulls from the wither skeletons, by rare chance of course. And we can also find blazes. So blazes, even without spawners, will spawn in netherrack brick areas, which is important to note as well, because I constantly always just seem to destroy the blaze spawners just because it gets annoying, because they just constantly spam out blazes. So right where that blaze is over there, that's where a blaze spawner was, and over here was another one. So I destroyed both of those, and as you can see, the blazes are still spawning, just not as quickly or as efficiently as they were before. And I find that blazes seem to still spawn just as effectively without their spawners. So two important things to note here is to have a sword with looting on it, so that way you can loot more from the things you're about to kill. That includes the wither skeletons. And the other thing is to make sure you have a bow. I always like to have an infinity bow on me for these guys, the ghasts. And I don't know why that one just disappeared. But it's always a good idea just to have a bow and a sword. Now I have a shovel with me because I plan on getting some soul sand. I'm probably going to do that real quick before we come back here and finish off the tips and tricks in here. Because I also want to show you guys where you can find the nether wart in this fortress, so that way you guys know where to find that at, or what the area will look like where you can find it at. I think I have enough soul sand now to do what I need to do. I'm just going to make a miniature farm for this stuff anyway. It's going to be like maybe 4 or 5 sections of soul sand with the nether warts growing on them. I'll have to figure that out later. But right now I'm on my way back to the nether fortress, and once I get there we'll try to search for the area where the nether warts actually grow at. Okay, we're back here in the fortress. I'm going to go ahead and take my potion of fire resistance real quick, so that way we're ready in case we get shot at by blazes. We don't have to worry about the fire effect, because they're going to be in here. As you can see already. I already have plenty. I just want to show you guys a fortress. So basically each fortress is going to spawn in differently. You might find some chests in them, and they'll have certain items in them, like saddles or horse armors or stuff like that. Even sometimes they'll have nether warts in those. Now if you can find it downstairs, like here, and there's another section of downstairs here, just keep looking for stairs, eventually you'll find some stairs that are surrounded by soul sand on either side of it, and it has nether warts growing in it. And that will be the farm, like right here. This is the section where I found my nether wart. So all these soul sands right here had nether warts growing on them. Uh-oh. And there's another skeleton. Did he get stuck? I guess so. But this is basically what it looks like. It'll have soul sand surrounding it on both sides. On the stairs, you just harvest the nether warts with your fist or with anything you have in your hand. You can even take the soul sand if you want to, but just be careful because sometimes there's nothing underneath the soul sand. Sometimes there's just lava underneath of it. And he's gonna fall off into his death. Because there's nothing down there, is there? Well, he is floating up in the air, but I don't want to have to deal with him right now. So basically, this is what you would do in the Nether, is look for one of these fortresses if you want the blaze rods or the nether warts. You also can find your wither skeleton skulls here, so that's some tips for you for fortresses. And by the way, this is my realms world, so I am in survival, obviously, because you can see my level. You're gonna find these everywhere, and it's a random type of armor too. Whenever you can find these chests, it can be diamond, it can be gold, it can be iron, as you can see there. And sometimes you get a chance of the regular skeleton spawning in here. Now you can get rid of that chance by completely obliterating these fortresses and building it into your own type of design. There are some videos on that. Just gotta be wary of the pigmen, the zombie pigmen, and regular pigments when they come in here. Now, with the update coming in, 1.16, it is not going to change fortresses. Fortresses are not going to change at all. And I did forget my golden apples, but I did remember my steaks, so that's a good thing. Let's double check here. No, I didn't get a skull. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't get a skull. But looting 3 is going to help tremendously with trying to get them wither skulls. It also helps tremendously with getting lots and lots of blaze rods. If you guys have seen my potion room in one of my previous videos, or previous episodes if you will, you'll see that I have stacks of 64 of them, and it's because my brother and I came out here together. And that's another thing. If you can, and you're on a multiplayer server or realm, I highly recommend getting with another player and coming out here to do this, because it just makes it a lot easier to farm stuff. One person can be watching out for ghast while you're up on top here, while the other person is continuing to farm or just protect each other from the blazes. That's especially useful when you don't have access to these yet, and you don't have access to diamond armors and stuff, because you can come out here in iron armor and do this. You can even defeat the Ender Dragon in iron armor, to be honest. It's just you got to be careful with your enchantments, and just careful in general about lava down below, because fortresses usually spawn, in my experience, above giant pools of lava. There is one time, I think, in one of my worlds where I actually found a fortress that was just completely embedded in the netherrack, and that was pretty cool. And I also made it easier to where I could have made a farm out of that, but I didn't. Maybe one of these times I will, I don't know. But once they do the Nether update, I have no idea how Realms is going to be affected by this, because I don't have the option to go into the folder to update the Nether. I'm hoping it's done automatically when the update happens, because if not, I have no idea how to reset the Nether or the end in my Realms, because there is no folder for that. So if anybody knows anything on that, I'd appreciate any info on that. But otherwise, that is all the tips and tricks I have basically for the Nether at the moment. Right now, the main blocks I come here for are the Magma Blocks and the Soul Sand. Magma Blocks are very useful in the fact that you can use them for farms. So like my Boneman Archer farm, I just wanted to get out of there. So Magma Blocks are very useful when it comes to making AFK farms, if you will. Especially if you're not looking to get levels out of it. Now there is a way to prevent the mobs from dying all the way, and you can just one hit them with a sword. That is another useful thing to do. The other thing is Soul Sand. So Soul Sand is very useful for making water elevators or bubble columns, which can take items from one place to another, such as this sugarcane farm that I have back here. As you can see, I got Soul Sand down there. It's one of the easiest ways to get items transported up vertically. And Magma blocks can also be used to make bubble columns on the way down, and there's a way to prevent yourself from taking any damage when you come down the magma blocks, which I said recently in the video, which was get the Frostwalker perk on your boots. Another thing is that it makes a bubble. The magma block will make a bubble column which is breathable in for the player, and it pulls the player down, so you can't actually go up in a column of water with it. So you can make a two-sided water column, basically, one with soul sand, one side with a magma block. One side will be for up, the other side will be for down, which is very convenient for when you're trying to make a simple, very, very small vertical transportation system for either players or items or just in general, basically. So they're very useful blocks, and I always go there for them most of the time. It's the only blocks I go there for right now, but I'm sure that's going to change in the future because of all the new blocks we're about to get in the Nether. So that was one of the other things I wanted to talk about in this video, because I really, really am looking forward to the Nether update, if I'm being honest. There's a lot of new blocks coming out, and I'm especially psyched for blue fire. I really want the blue fire because I love the blue lanterns. I want to put them in place of most of the regular lanterns or some of the lights. So unfortunately, I didn't get any more wither skeleton skulls. That would have been nice. Gotta love them water elevators. And I think that's going to do it for the tips and tricks. I think I'm going to go ahead and get started on this farm out here. So basically what I'm going to need is to put this soul sand out there, so I have it available for when I'm ready for the farm itself. But this needs to go in here for now, because the farm is going to be built with this. I need to make sure I've got enough of it. I think I do, but I'm not sure. Not 100% sure. It's just going to be one section, like this farm right here is, all the way to the center. It's going to be one section. So one of these 4 sections is going down like this. Just because I'm going to get a lot of nether wart out of that, because I think each nether wart has a chance to drop 2 or 3 depending on what grow stage it's at. Another thing is, nether wart will grow only on soul sand, and it's better just to grow mushrooms on the mycelium and bone meal them, so that way you can get a larger mushroom out of them, and then just farm the larger mushroom to get more of the respective mushrooms. So like red mushrooms or brown mushrooms. For potion making, you really need the brown mushroom the most for the fermented spider eyes, so I highly recommend just trying to grow large versions of it, so that way you can get a whole bunch of them. And for that, I think we'll go ahead and show that off. Alright, so we're in my creation world, if you will. If you don't remember the design of my warehouse building that I'm planning on building for the crops, this is what it's gonna be built with. It's gonna look like, it's not gonna look exactly like this. I'm gonna change the design to fit what I needed to really do. I know it's got like these cut off corners here. I'm probably just gonna make it kind of squared out a little bit more, and maybe a little bit wider, just because I want it to be able to store a lot more. Well, actually, I don't even think it needs to be that big, because most of the crops I'm going to be selling anyway, but I need something to store like the seeds and enough stuff to be able to grow in the field. That's the thought process anyway, so I'll just have to figure that out before I build it and then just build it. But I'm probably not going to do a video unless everybody wants to, like I said before. So let's get right into this. So here's a mycelium block. You can find these on mushroom biomes, and it's better just to try to find a mushroom biome, in my opinion, for these brown mushrooms. I mean, yes, you can grow these, but the drops are horrendous in my opinion. So we're going to put that on the top, and you can bone meal it. And since it's on a mycelium block, you don't have to have it covered with a building or whatever to grow it. So like if I'm trying to grow this out here on a normal grass block, I can't even plant it, see? It has to be covered or in a dark area, but on mycelium it doesn't matter what the color is. And now I can simply harvest this right here. So let me just change my game mode here. So I can simply just harvest this, and every once in a while it may drop some mushroom pieces. Like that. So you see? Every once in a while it drops mushrooms out of it, and that's how we're going to farm these brown mushrooms, basically, so we can get our fermented spider eyes. And I've got, what, 3 mushrooms out of that so far? If you really want to farm this a lot faster, just get yourself an axe. It just goes through this block really quick. I usually use an axe, just to be honest. But like I said, this Nether Wart can only be grown on soul sand, or at least it grows the fastest on its soul sand. You try to plant it on grass blocks, and it won't work. So, and we can try farmland or dirt. It's not going to work. So the only thing it'll grow on, definitely, is, no matter what, soul sand. And there you have it. That's some tips and tricks for the Nether. How to get Nether warts and blaze rods, which will also form your blaze powder. You guys can see what I'm going to be building here very shortly. I do plan on keeping this kind of design layout for like the pillars on the sides of the building and the doorways. The windows are going to look like that. I just like that design. I really like this design. I found this on CB Craft. And I just really enjoyed looking at a lot of the builds on there, and it just gives me a lot of fresh ideas on how to design certain things I want to build. But these right here have got to go. I can't stand putting carpet on top of things. I'd rather just use bottom half slabs or stairs for the roofs. And I'm not going to have a chimney with smoke coming out of it, because obviously if it's a storage warehouse for food, you just want it to be some sort of ventilation, I guess. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and leave a comment down below if you want to, if you have any questions, or if there's future guides or videos you would like me to do on Minecraft, please let me know. I'm trying to update all the guides out there that are pretty old that nobody's done yet, and I think everybody's just waiting for 1.16 to come out, obviously. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.